Blessings, Soul family. This is the Bio Quantum Podcast, and I am so honored to have our guest today, Cynthia Clark. She is a soul sister, and her gifts off the chart. If you have not experienced a reading with Cynthia, that is something that I highly recommend. We were out with our last retreat in Sedona, and she blessed us with coming and doing readings, and everybody was blown away with what she has really brought in by listening to her inner guidance and her galactic family and all these fun things that I'm going to let her say a little bit more about. So, welcome, Cynthia. And why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself and then we'll move into experiencing your work.
Sounds good. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here and I'm excited to meet everybody on the call. I have been reading hands professionally for the last 17 years, and I've worked with over 8,000 people in that amount of time. So I've definitely been called to do this work. I actually had a deja vu experience, is how I got started in reading hands. So it chose me. And now that I live in Sedona, it's been an interesting ride. I've been here over 6 years. I started receiving messages from the higher dimensional realms, including the Pleiadian Council of Light. I also work with archangels and different spirit guides. And I have been just downloading all this stuff ever since, and it's turned into this amazing practice of helping the planet with their ascension, helping individuals to really open up to their highest timeline, their best life. It's really all about being in that joy and fun and love and doing what you're here to do. I mean, that's what it's all about.
I love it. So we're going to talk a little bit about the portals of the hands, I think, are they on the fingers, and how we can use that to just learn more about ourselves, to use that as a tool for manifesting and ascending. And so I'm just going to start there with how you would like to take this and how you would like to kind of bring in what you have, because I know you kind of are connecting to some energy of what you wanted to share today. We were talking a little bit about that. So I'm going to kind of let you take the reins, and then I'm sure there'll be lots of beautiful questions that will come through.
Okay, yes, for sure. So I'd like to just start out with a little background in hand analysis. In case you don't know anything about it, there definitely is some things that you should know about what the hands actually have to tell you. So you can think of your hands like holding up a mirror, and it's going to reflect back everything about you. So, what I love about hands is that it brings in the tangible from something that is otherwise somewhat intangible, right? So, for example, you could do a Myers-Briggs, personality test, for example, and you can answer questions and learn about yourself that way. There's lots of ways to diagnose your personality and that sort of thing. But what hands, what's so special about hands is that you can see what's there. You can see the lines, you can see the fingers, you can see the fingerprints, and it's going to show you the roadmap to everything about you. So, for example, the fingerprints, they form 5 months before you're even born, and they represent your soul imprint. So when you think about your DNA imprint, that's going to be in your fingerprints. And you can learn about your soul's purpose, your life lessons, what are the things that your soul really wanted you to experience in this lifetime. Then there's your hand shape. Okay, so your hand shape forms by the time you're about 5 or 6 years old. So when you think about being a little baby and you're just coming into the world and you're absorbing your environment, right? You're suddenly learning how to be in a physical body, and then your hand shape is going to start to take its form, and it will have pretty much its final form by the time you're about 6 years old. And this also corresponds with the brain states. So little children are completely in their subconscious mind all the way up until about age 6. And then we start to move into the higher brain states. So that will represent your personality archetype. Okay, so you have different subconscious influences that are going to reflect in the shape of your hand and in the fingers. So that's another component of hand analysis. And then the third component, which most people are familiar with, is the lines, which are representing the ebb and flow of your life. Okay, so you have free will. Your lines actually change, including major lines. So you're not stuck with whatever your lines are showing you today. So that's the beautiful thing about that is you can start to work with your hands in a more proactive way, and you can really start to identify what are my challenges, what are my strengths, what are my talents, what are my potentials. How am I thinking? How am I feeling? How am I relating to other people? I mean, the list goes on, but your hands are going to show you those things. And when you really combine all three of those, in my opinion, that's giving you a very complete picture of who you are. And so therefore you can be aligned with your most authentic self. And to me, there's nothing more satisfying in life than actually living a life that's authentic. And it was really made for you. Like everybody has a unique purpose. Everybody has a reason for being. Everybody has something special, that little spark of divine that is within you that needs to be expressed. So your hands can guide you in that. And it's a super valuable tool, which is why I've been studying hands for so long. So, yeah, so that's part of what I wanted to share for sure.
I that was all just so amazing. And just because I've worked a little bit with you in the past, another thing I want to bring in here just because I find it super fascinating is that hand shape can you can actually pick, I believe, and tell me if I'm saying this wrong, but what partners and what hands match together to, not that it has to be that way, but what to look for. And I made this joke of, oh, okay, so the first thing you do at a date is let me see your hand so that you can see what kind of relationship it's going to be. So I just feel like it's worth just maybe putting in a little tidbit on that because it's super interesting.
That is very, very true. Compatibility does show up in the hands. So it's kind of funny because I read my husband's hands on our first date. And the first thing I noticed about him was that he was compatible with me. I'm a fire hand, so I'm all about passion and freedom and, go, go, go. I'm always super busy. And he's got air hands. So he's got the long fingers, square palm, and he's much more, he likes to communicate and he's curious. And so he was really open-minded when I said, okay, I want to see your hands. And he's like, okay. And he just, pulls them out. And he was very, as opposed to a lot of people who are somewhat opposite of that, like, oh no, like I know she reads hands, like what bad things is she gonna find? So anyway, I ended up reading his hands. It was super fun. And I did find out that he was also a storyteller. And I thought that was hilarious. So I'm like, I wonder what stories he's going to tell me. But yeah, there's actually a marker sometimes that shows up also that's called a partner preference line, and it's a variation on the heart line. So sometimes people are really specific as to the type of partner that they want, but that only shows up maybe about 10% of the time. So otherwise, I look at hand shape, I look at strong fingers, I look at the heart line, absolutely, because that's your emotional flow line. You can definitely tell a lot of stuff just from that.
So amazing. And I have met her husband, and he does love to tell stories. So I will confirm on that one. He's a great storyteller. All right. Well, let's move in to the portals of manifesting. And I'll let you kind of take lead on that, on what you want to share, what we should be experiencing.
Yeah, so okay, so this information that I want to share today comes from my I do a process called automatic writing. I've been doing it for a really long time. I think I've been meditating now about 25 years. So, it's something that is just natural to me. I'm a writer, so I love just the art of writing. I don't know if anyone else is like this, but I love having a pen. Maybe I'm a little old-fashioned that way, but that's just how it comes through for me. And then I have a record of it too, right? I can go back through my journal and I can go, oh, okay, what did I actually just write? But when it comes through, I don't analyze it. I just go into meditation and I just write. That's why it's called automatic writing. I'm sure a lot of you here have probably experimented with this. So I started receiving messages from the higher dimensional realms, and it really started coming in strong after I moved to Sedona, because then suddenly I'm in this vortex, and you know, living in a vortex is interesting. I'll definitely say that there's something to that. Um, and I'm super grateful that I'm here. But what I learned was that there are these intentions that we need to have anchored in our energy field in order to really be a good manifester. Okay, so a lot of people think of manifesting, they think, everybody's heard the term, thoughts become things, pay attention to your thoughts. Well, that's part of it. But I also would say there's these 8 intentions because that's what my guides brought in for me to share. So today we're going to go through those 8 intentions, and I'm also going to be sharing how they might be showing up on your hands. Okay, which is where we're going to all be looking at our hands. All right, so I hope you're ready for that. It's kind of the fun experiential part. And then we're also going to do some activations too that I carefully selected for you guys today. All right, so the first intention, and I consider this one the most important. I know that I am a magical manifester of any abundance. Okay, so you have to be in knowingness that you are a creator, right? You're creating your life. You are not a victim of your life. You are creating in every single moment of every single day, right? So when you start to recognize your power as a creator, it's like, okay, well, what is the universe showing me? What is the universe reflecting back to me? That's where you can get into, huh, okay, what am I creating? And if it's not what you want, then you need to go back to, okay, well, I know that I am a manifester. And this one is really kind of interesting to you. When I was going through my own dark night of the soul, I got vertigo for 9 months and I was literally forced on my back. The only thing that made me feel better was meditating and closing my eyes. Otherwise, the world was just like, psh, it was just spinning. It was horrible. But that's when I really knew, and this was after my divorce from my first husband. I was going through this really rough period, and that's like, okay, well, I know, and this is where like number one really got anchored in for me. I know I'm a magical manifester of any abundance. So therefore, this spinning that's going on is temporary, and it's just forcing me to go in and actually take a look at my life and what am I going to be creating from now on, right? Because my old life was completely over. And it's like, here's your opportunity. And it was so funny because the universe opened up 555 to me like every single day while that was going on. I would wake up at 5:55 every morning. It's like, oh, you need to go meditate. So I don't know if you guys see numbers, but I see numbers all the time. It's really interesting. So, so as far as knowing you're a magical manifester, where I would look for this on your hands is your thumb. Okay, your thumb represents your willpower. All right. And so first of all, if you have a big thumb relative to the rest of your hand, that represents that you are somebody that has big manifestation power, right? You're going to be wanting to take charge of things. You're going to be, wow, okay, I'm holding this willpower, right? This is your willpower. All right. And then you can take a look at the quality of your thumb and just take a look at especially this upper section. This is where you can think of this as your crown chakra. And so I call this the zone of manifestation. So if this section is clear, as in it doesn't have horizontal lines running through it, then it shows that your crown chakra is open and you can manifest easily. Okay, now if you have horizontal lines, those are stress lines, but remember, lines are changeable. And so don't be freaked out if you have some. It's actually it's normal to see some horizontal lines. All
Can
right,
I
but that's,
ask you, Cynthia, does it matter
yeah.
which hand or is it the same?
It's probably going to be different on the two hands.
Yeah.
So the hand that you write with, we call that your active hand. That's going to be more your outer self, your public self, your conscious self, your developing self. So for this activity, I would probably look there.
Okay.
And then on your passive hand, that's going to be more your internal, your subconscious, your potential. So you can see sometimes there is variations. Like you can think, okay, how is my subconscious doing versus my conscious? So yeah, you might definitely show typically there's more lines on your passive hand than on your active. Okay, I would say that's normal. Okay. So anyway, that's a good question.
Thank you.
All right. So that's our first one. Okay. So our second one is I am worthy to receive, right? You have to know that you can receive. You have to know that um, you are a receptor of the universe, right? You're like the open cup, and the open cup wants to be filled up with something magical, right? So your area of receiving on your hand is actually down in the lower section of your hand. We call this Luna. Okay, Luna represents your deep subconscious, and this is where your sacral chakra is located. All right. Now, for amount, because this is a whole region of the hand again, we're looking at the quality of the mount. So, does it have a little puffiness to it, or is it flat? Look at the color. Is it a healthy color, or does it have some weird color? For example, a lot of times I'll see red in this section. Okay. So if it's overly red, that's saying I would like more control over my ability to receive.
Mm.
Okay. So red is a stress. Yellow would be worry. Blue would definitely be sadness. So we look at colors in the hands too. We also look at droopiness. Okay. So sometimes this mount will droop and it will drop in towards the wrist. That's also a weakness. Okay, so looking at just the overall quality of the mount is your ability to receive. It represents the available energy that you have to receive. And then again, we look at the lines. Do you have horizontal lines running through the section? If you do, that's going to represent some stress or some restless energy that wants to be addressed. Now, this region is also your area of your ancestral lineage, your past lives, that sort of thing. So it might be something that wants to come up through your ancestral line or, something that wants to heal. So that's, depending on what those lines are that's showing up. Okay. But that's where you're going to look for receiving.
Hey.
Okay. All right. So the next one, I trust. This is number 3. I trust this is happening for me. Okay. So trust is so important. And we actually do have a trust challenge line that will show up in the hands. So this is really a specific line. Okay, so it's going to start over here. By the way, we call all of these lines are called challenge lines that originate over here in towards the thumb. Okay, so it'll be a diagonal line that goes over to your little finger. We call this your Mercury finger. And it's just going to carry all the way across the hand, like in sort of a diagonal line. It may not be straight, it might also be curved, and it might not be super strong. Like it might be, for some people, it's a minor line, so it could be kind of thin or maybe a little broken up. But that would be a trust challenge line. Another way that trust shows up in the hands is, does your little finger bend? Okay. Does your little finger, is it straight when you hold it up or does it curve? Okay. So anytime your little finger curves, this is your finger of communication, then that's an indication that you have a trust challenge. Okay. So I did notice this, by the way, on my husband's hands, which is his storyteller aspect as well. He has a curve that actually goes out. And so you don't see that very often. Most people will actually curve in, but that's when you think of like communication, that's a trust
Mm.
point on your hand. All right. So that's number 3. All right. Number 4 is I release any judgments or attachments to how my desire shows up. Okay, so this is super important. We hold on to judgments, we hold on to attachments. We expect things to manifest in a certain way. And it's like, if it doesn't manifest exactly like this, then it's no good. Right? A lot of times we do that, right? And then we limit ourselves so tremendously because it's like, well, the universe, I mean, it's sort of funny, right? Like when I attracted my second husband, I didn't recognize him right away, even though I saw how compatible he was. I still was like, oh, I don't know. Like that's how we are because we have a judgment. It's like, oh yeah, well, he didn't look the way I thought he was going to look, for example. Like, oh, I thought he was going to be taller, or I thought he was going to have dark hair, or, whatever. I thought he was going to weigh this much, or, be this type of build, or, maybe have this ethnicity, or whatever, right? We have all these judgments, which is hilarious. Because the universe is like, well, here's your soulmate. I'm bringing you your soulmate. And then we're like, ah. So, in terms of where this is going to show up in your hands, judgments do show up in different ways. One way that I would maybe check for this is to look on your heart line. Okay, so your heart line is this uppermost line in your hand, and it's going to be right under the fingers. Okay, it's going to be on both of your hands. It's a major line. It represents your emotional flow. Okay, so your emotional flow line is going to reflect a stress where I just call these dropping crosses. Okay, so if you have like these little X's that kind of come underneath this line, depending on where they're located, that's going to be basically saying that I don't feel like I'm getting enough support. So
Mm.
I'm going to be judging the situation. Okay, so if it's underneath your what we call the point of intimacy, which is going to be right in between the little finger and the ring finger, okay, this is called your point of intimacy. So if you have a little dropping cross there, then it's saying, I am judging my intimate relationships. Okay, so that's interesting. If it's dropping underneath your Apollo finger, your ring finger, that's saying, I'm judging my peers. And if it's dropping underneath your middle finger, which is your work finger, that's essentially saying, I'm judging my work.
Interesting.
Okay, so this is how the different types of judgments that we bring in. And it's basically saying on an emotional level, it's saying, I don't feel like I'm getting enough support here. Okay, so definitely the heart line, by the way, is one of the most wounded lines in the hands as far as like the stress I see. The quality of the line is typically broken or forking or doing all kinds of crazy stuff. Or it's got these little dropping crosses, right? So if you have that, it's again, it's quite normal.
Mhm.
Okay.
I just have a quick question about
Yes.
that.
Yes.
So again, we're kind of looking at our dominant hand. I'm just
Mhm.
curious on that, like we're on the
We're
trust, right?
on we're on number 4.
So what would that look like on the other side? So if
Oh,
it's
so yeah,
if
as far as those markers, you could have that on either heart line. Yeah, so definitely look at both of your heart lines. So on your heart line on your passive hand is going to be more, again, more of that internal emotional flow,
Mhm.
right? How you relate to more of your closer relationships and that sort of thing. On your active hand, it's typically more like public relationships, acquaintances, more professional in terms of your emotional flow line. Okay, but yeah, you might have variations. And your heart line, by the way, could look completely different on your two hands. Okay. So yeah, that's the other really interesting thing is like, how is your heart line doing? Okay.
Inquiry, I definitely want to know.
Also, just to go back to the basics of the heart line, if it curves and if it actually curves up to a finger, that means you're more expressive in your feelings. If the heart line is straight and it does not curve, then you are typically going to keep your emotions more inside. Okay, so and again, it just varies tremendously from person to person. It's really interesting to see like how does it show up? Right?
Wish we could all talk about what ours look like right now, but that would take way too long.
I know, I know. Hands are complicated. There's no question. All right. So, number 5, I am resonating with my desire. Okay. So, this is where we're really tapping into the energy of what it is that we are looking to manifest. So, I wouldn't say that there's really a specific point necessarily for this one. However, I would probably want to take a look at my portal of change, which is what we're actually going to activate later today. And this is just the point right in the middle part of your palm. Okay, so this point, you can think of this as if you are ready to change, if you're ready to open up to whatever it is that you want to create, you have to be open to change because you need to open to resonating with that desire, right? Otherwise, it would already be in your life, right? So you can actually work on, and we're going to activate this in a little bit, but this is where it's located, right in the center part of your palm. All right. So a good way for you right now, if you want to wake it up, is just give it a little massage. You can do both hands. Wake up, portal of change. Because that means you're growing. Yay. All right. So number 6 is I am taking inspired action now. Okay, so inspired action is the key words in this one, right? We don't want to take action that is negative or what I call negative manifesting. We want to go in the direction of our dreams. So what we focus on expands. So we definitely want to take inspired action toward our dreams as opposed to focusing on the opposite or the negative, right? So as far as looking at the hands, your inspired action ability, I would say this is going to be in the quality of your thumb. Okay, so again, the thumb is your willpower, as we've talked about. Now, if you've been blessed with a big thumb, not all of us have been, but you can also activate this thumb. Okay, so for example, if you hold your thumb really close to your other fingers, what does that look like? Right? It looks like I'm not ready for anything. Okay. I don't want anything in my life. I'm overwhelmed. I'm tired. I can't do this. That's not what we want to do. We want to start to open up our thumb, okay, away from the other fingers because then we have more mobility, right? We have more flexibility. We can reach more of our hand, like the rest of our hand, right? If we do that. And energetically, what this is telling your body and your brain and your system is that you're opening up to your willpower and you're actually claiming, yes, I am manifesting. I am a creator, right? So this is a great activity. So in order to take inspired action, you want this to be bigger. You can also think of like this space right here. This is how big does your garden grow, right? How big of a garden do you want? Do you want just like one little plant growing? Well, then you want your thumb really tight, right? I don't want anything. I just want it really tight. But
That's
if you want to really open up your life, start doing this. Start really spreading your thumbs out. Okay. And then just notice how that feels. Like it might be a little uncomfortable, right? At first, especially on your passive hand, right? Because your passive hand is typically you don't exercise it as much, right? Because you don't use it as much. So start doing this with your passive hand and just notice the difference and see, how does this feel different? And how can I open it up more? Right?
what's so weird is mine on my passive hand is so much wider than the other side.
Oh,
Isn't that
interesting.
weird?
Yeah, that's not
What are
normal.
you telling me?
Well, you've been doing this work a long time too, though. So, yeah, Kathy says hers
Mine
is
too.
too. Okay, yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? So, but yeah, it's interesting just to notice the differences, right? That's where it gets kind of fun. All right. So moving on to number 7, I continue to respond with knowingness and optimism that my desires are arriving in new ways that are just right for me. Okay, so that's kind of a mouthful. But the key on this is responding. Okay, so I always tell people there's 4 things you're in charge of: your thoughts, your feelings, your actions, and your responses,
Mm.
right? So when you don't have your manifestation immediately land in your front door, right? Like that new man that you want to marry or whatever. It's like he didn't just like ring the doorbell. Like, what's up with that?
You mean I have to leave the house?
I have to actually go somewhere and do something. But so we want to continue to respond with that optimism. Okay, now, by the way, here is where I would maybe look, and this is not 100%, but we want to look at our Jupiter energy for our overall optimism energy. So first off, color, we don't want to see blue in the hands. Okay, so and the way to really tell that is if you bend your fingers backwards, you'll see if there's any blue coloring showing up. Okay. Blue is sadness, okay, depending on where it shows up in the hands. But another thing is we want to see how much Jupiter energy do I have, because that's really showing the available optimism energy. Okay, so one place to check would be your Jupiter mount. Okay, so that's going to be this one right up here underneath your index finger. Okay, and what you do is you can kind of curl the fingers a little bit like this, and then you can see the little pillows, right, that are there or not there. That's going to show your available Jupiter energy. Okay, so Jupiter is also about, big vision, optimism, like we said. It's also about your tapping into your ideals. This is all like Jupiter energy. Okay, but if this is flat, then it shows that your available Jupiter energy is maybe not as much as you would like, right? So we need to build that up. Okay. So that's number 7. And number 8, last but not least, of course, is that I am grateful that I am now attracting more and more of my desires. Okay, so gratitude is one of the best ways to just turn that frequency right around and start moving in the positive direction, right? So we always want to be looking at what we do have and what we're grateful for. And if we can't think of anything, it's like, well, maybe I'm just grateful to be on the planet, or maybe I'm just grateful for that beautiful sunrise that came up this morning, or maybe I'm grateful for the place where I'm living, whatever it is. Like you can start really small. Even when I was super ill with my vertigo, I was just grateful that I was still alive and I had an opportunity to start over again, right? Like sometimes that's all you can be grateful for because you're going through a hard time. And we all do, right? So gratitude does not specifically show up in the hands other than I would look for the lack of blue, for the sadness. Another thing that I would maybe look for would be just looking at all of your fingers in general. Like this is obviously we can't get into all the details of it right now, but look at the horizontal lines running through all of your fingers because those are going to represent stress lines. And vertical lines are flow, right? So if you've got lots of verticals running through your fingers, that shows like tremendous amount of flow. And so if you've got a lot of those stress lines, that means there's something that wants to heal or shift. Another place to look for like worry or stress is on your headline, which is this line that goes straight across the middle part of your hand. Okay, so most people have, it starts right over here underneath Jupiter, right? So the headline will go roughly just across, it'll cut the hand sort of in half. That's the headline. And so if you have little what we call bubbles or islands on the headline, those are worry lines, worry markers. Okay, so we would prefer not to see too many bubbles on your headline. Okay, so unfortunately, I grew up as a worrier. I got that from my mom, right? So I still have a few of those lines on my headline, but there it is.
Well, that's something that we can manifest is.
Exactly. Yes. We can manifest that we are just grateful and I am super grateful. I'm grateful for you. I'm just grateful to be here. I'm grateful for everybody who's watching or who will watch the replay, you know, because we really are here to be co-creators. That's what we're here for. So, all
That
right.
was amazing. I fully enjoyed that, and I know everybody else did. I can see people like taking their notes, and it's
Yeah,
a lot of fun. All right, so did you want to go into the activation now, or
sure.
okay?
Absolutely. Yeah, so like I said, we're going to work on the portal of change, which is right here in the middle part of our hand. And what I would like for you to do is actually just line up your two hands so that the two, because you have one on each hand, just line them up and then just put it right on your heart. right? So we're going to line up those two portals of change and we're just going to tune in to our own precious heart. And I want everybody just to close your eyes and just settle in. And we're going to focus our energy on our ability to change, right? And I'm going to take you guys through a very powerful activation. And you can think these words as we go through. All right. So I claim my divine birthright to open and activate my portal of change so that I may recognize, release, harmonize, and transform anything that is holding me back from progressing into the next stage of my soul growth and development. I welcome, allow, and enhance my ability to change and grow with ease, grace, trust, and knowingness that I am and will always be a powerful divine being and a co-creator of my reality while operating in this dimensional reality. I choose to change my vibratory field now to ascend, to rise, to align with love and the cosmic heart consciousness. I choose to let go of all that is no longer a vibratory match to my soul growth and highest potential in all timelines and all dimensions now. Thank you. And so it is. And just go ahead and let these words penetrate your own portal of change and just feel that love energy going right in there. So this is going to help you with if you feel like you're procrastinating or if you feel like you can't, move into that change, it's going to help you with this activation. So you can go ahead and release that. All right. Hopefully everybody feels good. And then I have one more that I wanted to do with you guys as well. And we can do this with any of the portals. So moving into what are the portals, right? So we talked a little bit about the portal of change, right? But we also have portals on each of our fingertips. And so your fingerprints are actually ways to access your multidimensionality, and each finger represents a different aspect of that. So we have 10 palm portals, and then we've got the one in the center of our palm. So I thought maybe we could just pull a portal card and see what we need to balance. And then I've got an activation for us to connect to our heart mind and our higher mind. So let's see what we need. What does the group need? All right. And oh, this is an interesting one. Okay, we're getting the portal of collective willpower. Okay, so that is your left thumb, by the way. Okay, so yes, we have our portal of willpower is our right thumb. Our portal of collective willpower is our left thumb. Okay, so the collective willpower is going to be the willpower of the entire everybody on earth, everybody collectively, like we're all connected, right? We're all one. So we're going to tap into that energy. Oh, I love this because we're going to elevate the whole planet with this one. So that makes me very happy. All right, so everybody just go ahead and put your left thumb right on your heart. And we're going to do another invocation. And by the way, this one came into me from Kuan Yin, who is the ascended master of compassion and love. Okay, so this is what she said. Okay, so first we're going to open the portal. So left thumb portal open so that we may access our divine birthright of collective willpower. We now claim higher mind. I now welcome and invite you to connect to my heart mind, to be synced and harmonized so that all my decisions from this moment forward and backward in all timelines and all dimensions are made with love, fully attuned with the cosmic heart, so that I may more fully experience higher states of love and bliss while in this body and this lifetime. I recognize and honor the wisdom of my heart to express with love as an enlightened being of the divine. May all pain and suffering be transmuted to wisdom in recognition of the lessons that were chosen to be learned, in full knowingness that these were not to punish me, but to help me realize that love is the answer and the way through my life. Thank you. And so it is. Okay, and then you can release that. Hmm. Yay.
I love that it came up as the collective. What a beautiful energy to bring in. That was
Yeah.
very, very nice. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, it's all perfect, right?
Yes, I really felt that.
Yeah, me too.
Well, is it a good time? I feel like let's open it up to the community and let everyone, this is your opportunity to interact with Cynthia. So you could share your experience, ask any questions. This is your time to connect. Anybody have any questions? Isabel?
Uh, Hi, thank you very much. It's been very interesting. I just wanted to ask about the lines that you said going down in the fingers.
Yeah.
I've got quite a lot. My
Okay.
flow is not really showing. So I've got quite a lot of lines going down, and you said that was the flow. Yes.
Yes, that's one place where it flows. But the thing with the phalanges is we look at what is flowing, right? So it all goes back to what does that phalange represent? Okay, so the Jupiter finger, which of course we didn't have time to talk about all this because it gets rather complicated. But Jupiter is your index finger. This is how you see yourself. Okay, so if you have a lot of flow lines in here, that shows that you are really aware of your, how you're looking at yourself. You're analyzing yourself and your life, right? The middle finger is all about work and duties and responsibilities. So that means that you're going to be focused on your organization and your duties and what are you taking charge of. Your Apollo finger is how are you showing yourself to the world? So this is your creative expression finger. So maybe you have a lot of creativity within you that is ready to be utilized. And then your little finger is your communication. This is your desire to connect with others. If you've got a lot of vertical lines going through the section, so it's like you're curious, you want to learn, that's your Mercury finger. So that's what that would represent is in terms of just what do the fingers represent. All right.
Right. So I guess if the flow is blocked, it will show somewhere.
It would show
Or
elsewhere. Yeah, it would show up as a challenge
right,
line. It could also be a life lesson. So it could be in your fingerprints.
right.
It could be in, yeah, there's what we call 10 heart chambers that show up in your hands, which again is like way more than I can teach in 5 minutes, but that will show where things are blocked. So yeah, that's what makes hands so interesting. But the vertical lines are a very positive sign. So, that's at least one step in the right direction for you.
One more question, please. I've got a cross in the point in the middle,
Uh-huh.
a kind of a cross. Is
Yeah.
that
Yeah,
or
that's an indication that you don't feel like you're getting enough support.
Mm.
okay?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. Thank you.
Is
You're
there,
welcome.
Thank
Cynthia, is there a portal that connects to support of the fingers?
Um, I would probably connect with left Apollo, which is the portal of potential co-creation. So, yeah, so that's your left ring finger. I would maybe open up that one. Okay, so this is how I would do this one if I felt like I wasn't getting enough support. I would open the portal, and this is how you do it. You can just put that finger right on your heart. Okay, so left Apollo, left ring finger, and say, left Apollo portal open so that I may access my divine birthright of potential co-creation. I now choose, claim, and declare the potential for more support to open to me in all timelines and all dimensions now. Thank you, and so it is. All right, so you can do one very simple like that. All right. Okay,
Okay.
we're all open now.
We are. I felt that. Thank you, Isabel. That was wonderful.
Yeah.
Great. Let's go with Dakola.
Evening, everyone. I'd just like to share my experience with the first activation that we did, where so my right hand is the dominant one and my left hand is the passive one. And during the activation, I felt a very strong sensation in my left palm. So I'd like to find out if that actually means anything, or it's just one of the things that happens during such activations.
Yes, I would say that that is normal. A lot of people will feel different sensations. You might feel tingling or heat or cold sensations. That's just the way that it came in for you, just to verify that it was working. And it wanted just to give you a heads up, like, hey, yeah, this is working for you. So, but yeah, everybody feels slightly different and everybody has different sensitivities, but I would say that's a really good response.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're
And
welcome.
can I just have one more follow-up question?
Sure.
So the sensation I felt was like a pressure, almost a pain, and that
Mhm.
is not normal, because on a kind of intermittent basis, I feel like an itching in that
Mm,
left palm on just
yeah.
sort of random basis. And in my culture, the Chivenda culture, they they equate an itching of the left hand to money coming in, and then the itching on the right hand to money leaving. And I'm just like, I've been as I've seen it as a superstition, and I've been trying to find another way to understand that.
Yeah, well, I definitely don't know anything about those superstitions, but I would say that it's if it's something that you believe in, right? That's going to be maybe something that's going to happen for you. So maybe that's your specific sign. So
Yeah,
be
because I've been seeing that it's not quite working that way. That's why I was like, okay, maybe it means something else.
yeah,
Maybe not
yeah,
yet. It's coming, girl.
exactly.
Yeah.
It's coming. It's on its way.
Okay. Thank you.
You're
Thanks for
welcome.
sharing, Sandy.
Cindy, you're delightful.
Oh, thank you.
I mean, really and truly, the way that you express this with not only passion, but there's a happiness that you exude
Thank
about it.
you.
And for me, not only was it fun to play with this, um, but every single one of them seemed it was life affirming, is what it was. It was just life affirming. And of course, I have, a thumb that's really, really clear, but it's so pink. It is pinker than the rest of my finger. It is
Uh-huh.
just really pink.
Uh-huh.
Have you got any feedback on that?
Well, pink is still pretty normal, but if we're going towards more of the red, then that is definitely an indication of wanting more control over your life. So in this case, you're wanting more control over your manifestations because that is your zone of manifestation, that upper thumb. So it's the universe's way of telling you, wow, you need to start really being that conscious co-creator. What do you want to see in the world? What are you manifesting? And really being deliberate and conscious and focused about it.
Thank you. I thoroughly enjoyed this.
Yay, I'm glad.
Well, Cynthia, why don't you do a little shout out of where we can connect with you? I know you have a free membership and lots of fun things. I will also put
You.
this link in the show notes too.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I actually have a lot of things going on right now, interestingly enough. So first off, you can just go to my website, ascension17.com, and I do have a free membership to Portals of Abundance, which is we focus on 5 areas. So we focus on health, wealth, love, purpose, and ascension. And so you get free training in all those areas when you join the membership. And then once a month, I do this, it's like an activation healing. We call it the cup of love. It's a group heart healing. And so we focus on each other's emotional stress, whatever that looks like. I typically do that every first Monday of the month in the evening. I'm on Pacific time right now. So for me, it'd be like 5 in the afternoon. And then people can just join in, whoever wants to join in, but that's part of the free membership. I also have 2 upgraded versions of the membership as well. I also am doing live streams right now on Sundays. So I was called to start healing some of the collective trauma. So last Sunday, we worked on healing slavery trauma. And I've also done one for sudden death. I did one for hand analysis. And next week, we're going to work on tech. So if you have trauma around tech, that's going to be Sunday. And then I've also got a podcast called Life Ascended. I put out new episodes every Thursday, and Jewels has been on, so you can definitely catch her replay because she's a wonderful guest as well. And then I am also going to be in a movie this year, so be on the lookout for Pillars of Power, which is a documentary. You can think of it like The Secret Part 2, but it's all about uncovering greatness. So the secrets to achieving greatness, and that's going to be coming out in the fall of this year. So it's called Pillars of Power. And then I'm also co-authoring a book called The Ways to God. And that is coming out in the end of June. And it's associated with the Near Death Institute. So I'm excited to be part of that project. So yeah, so that's all the stuff I've got going on.
That's amazing, girl. Well, you are proving that the 8, what are they, steps to
The 8 essential intentions.
8 essential intentions work because you are out there and doing it and doing such amazing work. I mean, you are a gem, and I just appreciate you bringing your brilliance and your wisdom and sharing it with us today. And it's ascension17.com, and I will put that in the show notes as well so that you all can connect with Cynthia and all the amazing things that she's bringing through for us.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate it.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for spending this time with us. And we are just sending you so much love. Until next time, follow those portals, continue to connect them to your heart and bring your brilliance into the world. Bye, everyone.
Bye.